Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back to the VET S.O.S podcast. Remember, you do not have to drown in the sea of transition. You grab that VET S.O.S Lifeline. And today, sitting on the stoop, we about to get the scoop. But ladies and gentlemen, remember, this is about the military effect campaign that we have going on. And we have Evie like a Chevy. Hey, she said that. I said, how do you pronounce your name? She said, Evie like a Chevy. I said, Evie like, and y'all check out the last name, King and King. So this is going to be the King show, the King Square, right? This is going to be the King Square, but this is part of the military effect campaign. Remember, it's the theme is our turn to serve, a powerful year-long campaign launching this Veterans Day. So it's already launching, it's going, and we have over a lot of guests coming in to share their nonprofit, share what they're doing to we can't say give back, paying it forward to the community, right? Organizations dedicated to serving the military and veteran community out there. And Evie is one of the contributors. But y'all want to know what else? Guess what? She is in the space of military spouse advocacy. She got cred, y'all. As the 2023 Armed Service Insurance Military Spouse of the Year and president, and this is what we're going to talk about, president of Independent. Did I say that right? Independent.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
She is breaking barriers and wellness access for spouses across the globe. She also, her and her team is also creating a dynamic program that reduces the disparities and empowers spouses to take control of their well-being. Get ready. Buckle up. Because you're going to hear information that you didn't even know existed until today. But she's going to explain about her organization and how she's contributing to the military effect campaign. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Welcome to the scoop. How you doing today?
I'm great. So thrilled to be here.
It is so great. Thank you for contributing to the military effect campaign. I know Scott and his team, he also has a book that's coming out. And we did talk about that earlier, that you all contribute to the campaign. And we all are a piece of the book, right? So if you're looking for the book, everybody, if you're listening in, the book is available on Amazon. It's called The Military Effect. Like I said, this is the campaign that's going to be running year long. It's going to be sharing information about nonprofits, about other organizations that's paying it forward and contribute to the veteran and military community to showcase that there's information, there's resources out there for you to utilize, for you to tap into, for you to access. And I could talk all day long. Y'all hear me all the time, but what's the scoop on, I call her, the King. What's the scoop on Miss King over there?
Yeah. Well, I am a proud Army spouse. So, for those of you who are listening, but also child of 2 Army veterans. So the green runs strong in our household. But I have the honor of being president of Independent. We are the nonprofit for military spouse wellness. We bleed purple, so we're for all branches. And I'm really proud of what we do. And I love the fact that we're the only one that exclusively supports military spouse wellness, because we feel that military spouse wellness matters. And when you focus on the heart of the home, which is the spouse, we are influencing future generations and our service members' well-being as well.
So is this just in the States, or is it global? Where are y'all located? Are y'all mostly on the East Coast, West Coast, Central?
We are a global nonprofit, so we reach military families stationed around the world. I just lived in Germany, and I was, all of the programs were accessible there. We have people who access them in Asia, so it doesn't matter where you are. Our mission is to make wellness accessible, and so we remove as many barriers as possible. And in this case, one of those is location. Cost is another big one. All of our programs have a free, are free or have at least a free version to them. Some of them have, like, you want to, donate or pay extra, and then you get access to, like, bonus stuff. But the core, the heart, everything that we do, we try to remove as many barriers to our programming to truly help military spouses have access to the information they need to thrive.
Nice. And how do y'all reduce the gap rather than just bridging the gap? Like how do you kind of bring it all together?
Yes. So, and I love the way that you described that.
Uh,
We reduce the gap by giving military spouses the education and resources and tools
uh,
they need to put things into practice now. So, for example, we have a program called Fuel the Home Front, and it educates military families how to shop for groceries on a
oh
budget
wow.
while also keeping their health and nutrition in mind, as well as time and stress, right? What is
Uh,
one of the biggest myths to healthy eating? It's expensive and it's time consuming. So
right.
we have addressed those and we've built it in the context of military life. Everyone is always going to be shopping. So we take the, we don't give a person a fish, we teach someone how to fish philosophy. There are so many extremely wonderful organizations who are that bridge,
Uh,
and we're to the gap, and we're just reducing the gap by essentially educating military spouses and then giving them access to the information they need to take advantage of their benefits.
wow. And I know that we talked about earlier before we hit the record, but you say it started in 2013. Like, what was some of the toughest challenges that while launching the program? Especially, you say you started in Germany, so overseas, and now you're on the northeast in the Virginia area. Like, what was some of the tough challenges that was faced?
Yeah. So the Independent was started by military spouses
Uh,
who saw an article that, interestingly enough, was talking about recruiting and retention. So back in 2013, we were talking about recruiting and retention, and they thought, how can we approach the problem of retention and maintaining strong, healthy households so that military
uh,
families don't feel like the only way to have a healthy home is to leave service. And no one
uh,
was really at that time addressing military spouses in the context of wellness. So Independence sort of came about. As you mentioned, it was started in Germany, which I think in and of itself is a challenge because,
yeah.
you have time zones, you have lack of resources. Like, we weren't near any of the big areas that a lot of organizations to get together for networking or anything like that, right? They were
Uh,
geographically separated, which honestly is one of the best things about being at Fort Lee. I am 2.5 hours from Washington, D.C., and so
right.
I can attend things, but I also can say, like, oh, I'm sorry, that's too far, can't
Right.
go today. Um, so, building a nonprofit, even now within the context of military life, like,
Uh,
we are the people that we serve. My
right.
team is built of military and veteran spouses. So we
Uh,
are experiencing the same challenges and overcoming the same barriers to wellness that how our organization is trying to address. So I
wow.
think that, you know, being close to the problem is both a blessing and a curse.
Right.
And so, one of the things that I've really tried to do, especially since becoming president, is really encourage us to look outside of our bubble, to talk to people outside of the military spouse community, because wellness is not a military issue, it's a human issue. And so, how are our civilian neighbors, approaching these challenges? What sort of resources are available? Can they meet our needs? And if they can't,
Uh,
what can we learn from them and then adapt them to our own, specific lifestyle needs?
wow, that's huge because I was stationed in Germany. I know um, like you said, it's like a small military community out there. But once you go outside the gate, now you're dealing with different languages, and it's a little bit harder to understand. And then you get homesick, and then you far away from family. Um, what's some of the
The
turning points?
gray.
Yeah, the gray, right? And the gray is always cloudy, raining all the time. Like, what was
Yeah.
some of the from that journey that changed everything, like the turning point to like, okay, now I'm in the States, I'm in the Virginia area, I'm close to DC, I can start making some actual things for
Yeah.
as a whole. Because like you said, the time difference alone, the 6 7 hour time difference, and then now you're trying to communicate with people, late at night or early in the morning, you're trying to line everything up. So how has that played a challenge?
Yes. So, it's one of those things where when it happens, you have sort of two choices. You could either work around it, which is what I
Mm,
did, or I could have quit. And I love what we do too much to, I think, ever say that I'm not willing to work around the circumstances.
mm,
Also, I think the fact that I am still living this life, it
mm,
really makes me feel extra motivated because, for example, we just talked about Germany, right?
mm.
I loved Germany. I've been a military spouse when we moved out there, I think 11 years. We celebrated our 11th anniversary, our first year there, or maybe 10th, I'm not sure. And, you would think by 10 years you have it figured out, right?
Just scratching the surface.
Yeah. I I was not prepared for the impact that the weather would have on my well-being.
Mm,
And, that's something that often we don't talk about enough. And so I went back to my team and I said, "Hey, I can't be the only one struggling with the fact that the weather here is gray, it's dreary, and
mm,
these sorts of things are all compounding on each other, and I am not well. And I'm running a nonprofit that is about wellness. So if
right,
I'm struggling, there are other spouses out there struggling. So I think that it's really powerful that we have a team of military and veteran spouses and a couple of people who just want to support the community. One of our registered dietitians, for example, is a veteran himself. I met him at the
mm,
Military Influencer Conference a couple of years ago, and he's helped us with the Fuel the Homefront program. But
mm,
we try to make sure that we have different perspectives. We work a lot with other wellness professionals. Not all of them are military connected. Um, but always making sure that what we're doing is tailored to the military experience. I would say a turning point for us, especially living here, was we pushed out the first ever military and veteran spouse wellness research survey with the
nice.
University of Texas down at Austin. And our organization is small, right? So the fact that we were able to partner with the Institute for Military and Veteran Family Wellness and push out research that has never been done before,
Wow.
mm, I think for me that was a turning point in our organization because we've been using other people's data to validate the need for our programs and our resources because as most people know, stories are great, but stories need to be grounded in data in order for there to make
Right,
real change and for people to listen. And so, and we just weren't finding the information that we needed about military spouses. It's an extremely understudied population. So the fact that we were able to push out research that other nonprofits, government agencies, I mean, even Congress is looking at and using to talk about policy is huge for our organization, especially since, we're still relatively small, especially in the VSO space.
right. And what a lot of people probably didn't pick up, because I picked up when we had the conversation and you mentioned it. So now you're seeing it from the spouse side, but you also was a dependent as a young child, right? Because you
Yeah.
said that you was a military child, so now you're seeing it from the child standpoint, right? Because you
Yeah.
experienced that, and now you're a spouse. So how did that? I know that had to shape you in some type of way in your leadership. Now you're the president of this organization. I'm sure that is like playing in the back of your head, like when you was a military child, running around base and stuff, and now like, man, how do I see myself as as the young Evie, running around base, and then now I'm a spouse, so now I have to take care of the household. I gotta have to take care of the kids. I have to,
Mm.
put on these events, and now sitting in that chair to make sure it all comes together.
It's funny that you say that because I'm one of six, so I have five other siblings, and I am the only sibling that ever vocally said, I would never join the service, marry a service member, or anything. And now, out of all of my siblings, I am the only one connected to it. So, no one
Wow.
else joined the service and no one married a service member. So, joke's on me. um, but I mean, I think you're definitely right. So I grew
Mm,
up saying yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. So, and that is still definitely a thing for all of the military brats who are raised in this community.
mm.
And I did not think that was weird until my civilian friends were like, why do you call your mom ma'am?
Out of habit. Yeah, it
Um,
just rolls off the tongue.
out of
Yeah.
habit.
Yeah.
But you know what? That has helped me so often in this life because it is now a habit that's ingrained in me and it's second nature. Um, I also think, you grow up with your, if especially if in my case both parents served, but you grow up with the stories. And
Yeah.
then so my spouse and I had sort of a unique beginning where he deployed 3 months after we started dating. He started in the National Guard, which is why the National Guard have such a close space in my heart because
Mm,
the Guard and Reserve are often very much so overlooked when it comes to resources. So
right.
making sure that what we do is relevant and available to the National Guard and Reserve is extremely important to me. But he deployed with the National Guard out of New Jersey first, and then he fell in love with the military and was like, I want to do this forever. Um, but my dad sat me down the day before he left, and he said, um, sorry, he said, Evie, you are about to join a legacy of spouses who
Mm,
have been saying goodbye to their service member since before the Roman times. And I remember him saying that and I got goosebumps because at that moment I was feeling so alone, right? I was about to say goodbye to my boyfriend of 3 months essentially,
right.
and I didn't know what to expect. And at that moment, all of a sudden I felt connected to generations of people before who have survived this and thrived through this, and it's strengthened their relationship. And I knew in that moment that I did not want to come out of any of the challenges that the military would throw at us weakened. I wanted to come out
Right.
of them even stronger than before. And I think that that sort of carried on. And I'm not sure I would have had that same feeling if I didn't have parents who also had similar experiences and could understand this life.
Right. And definitely as a spouse um, of a military member, you talk about, I just met 3 months and then he's off, deploying. I'm sure the mental health, right, started to play like at a young age, right? You started to, so just imagine, and I just want for a non people who has not experienced the military life or the traveling overseas or moving a whole family overseas and moving away from the support system, right? Your family that you've been around for a while, you're packing up and you're heading over there. Now it's just you and your spouse, or you, your spouse, and your kids, or you, your spouse, your kids, and the dogs, and a whole new country, new language, new
Mhm.
everything. So that mental health, does that play a role in the current program and approach that you're trying to put together for independent?
Yeah. So we approach wellness very
Mm,
holistically. So we have four main branches of wellness: mind, body, community, and purpose. And within
mm,
each of those, we have sub branches. So for mind, it's mental health as well as creative wellness and so on and so
mm.
forth. So, do we have programs and information specifically related to mental health? Absolutely. But I think if you truly want to get at a happy, healthy, thriving human, you need to approach it from a more holistic perspective, right? And
Right.
the reason I say that is there have been times in my life, for example, there's some research that's out there where military spouses talk about how the fact that there's like a 22 to 25% unemployment rate and it impacts their well-being. And
Mhm.
for many, many years, there was this assumption within the military spouse community in terms of the approach to that is if we get military spouses employment, all of a sudden all of these other problems are going to go away, right? The lack of
Right.
purpose, the isolation, depression, etc. And that's just not the case. I've been
Right.
employed multiple times as a military spouse,
Right.
and there have been times when I've been extremely unwell, and that's because I was approaching my wellness by focusing on just one general area. I mean,
Uh,
it's and that's one of the things that I think is really unique about what we do here at Independent. So, our biggest program is our Independent Wellness Summit. We get about
uh,
1,200 military spouses
oh
around the
wow.
globe participating in this program. And we have 10 interviews with a bunch of different wellness experts. And maybe we approach one person and say, hey, we really want you to talk about mental health. But in the interview, in the conversation, they're also talking about how, like, getting outside for 20 minutes that day really helped them to be well. And I would
Right.
argue that that would fall under physical wellness, for example, not just mental health. So, what I encourage people, the more and more that I'm in this space, the more and more that I'm seeing the research, our research, an interesting trend, for example, that we noticed that military spouses who said that the light in their home was good for their daily habits experienced better social connection and
Uh,
less isolation. You would never think that lighting in your home would have an
right.
impact there, right?
Right.
Um, but again, it just goes to show that there are different things that we can be doing for ourselves that you might not even realize is impacting your mental health for the better.
Right.
An example of how it worked against me, going back to my time in Germany, winter is tough. I'm sure you remember.
Oh
Um,
yes.
It would not get light until 10 o'clock in the morning, and then it would get dark at 3.
Right.
And I'm not even saying it was even bright between 10 and 3, it was usually, like, drizzling.
Right.
So, there were periods of time where I did not wanna go outside, and my mental health suffered. I
Uh,
was not doing well, and I remember I was talking to a friend of mine, and she was like, "Evie, what is your daily step count?"
right.
And I
Yeah.
was so embarrassed. I looked at my watch and I was like, I am barely moving. I'm just staying in my home. I'm hibernating. And she was like, have you seen Friends? And I was like, you know what? I talk to people constantly on video, but I'm not taking time to see people in real life. She was like,
Right.
let's start incorporating some of these things." And
Mm,
I did. I started to incorporate getting outside more, forcing myself outside, making sure I was getting together with friends in person, and doing these things that, again, you might not necessarily think like mental health, but I felt amazing. I also was extremely vitamin D deficient. So I started
yes.
taking vitamin D
Yes.
and I
Yes.
started to feel so much better. But I think if I did not view wellness from a holistic perspective, I wouldn't have looked at other avenues on how to approach my mental health than maybe the traditional approach that people talk about when we talk about mental health struggles.
That is also, I know the listeners are listening and people are viewing. Like you said, sometimes you just feel stuck. I felt so. Look, I have one a step counter too because I like, and then yeah, it buzzes like, hey, time to get up and move, right? Because sometimes we just get so lost in the moment We don't realize,
Yeah.
go out and talk to your neighbor, walk down the
Yeah.
just go for a walk, a little 20-minute walk. And I know that's some of the things. So, one of the questions I was going to ask, like, what are some suggestions you like somebody just starting out on a wellness journey, right? Because you said it's holistic,
Mm,
is the whole approach, and definitely by something that's this
yeah.
just a walk, a pedometer, just to and challenge yourself, gamify it. I tell myself, look,
Yeah.
non-negotiable, 12,500 steps a day without fail. I'm getting it. So now, I look at my time, I gotta hit it before midnight. I don't care. I tell myself, like, hey, if I got 5,000 at 5 p.m., I guess I gotta do a lot of walking from 5 p.m. before midnight, because at midnight I need to have at least that amount of step count.
Yes. So there actually is, if you're okay with me sharing an
Yeah,
app, it's
sure.
not have
Yeah.
anything to do with independent.
No,
It's
no,
called
sure.
Step Bet. It's called Step
Okay.
Bet, and it actually gamifies your steps. So
Oh,
you enter
nice.
these challenges. I'm currently in one. I'm in week 5 of 6. So you better
Okay.
believe that I am getting all of my steps.
Right.
So it connects to your watch or whatever device you use to count steps, and then it gives you daily challenges that you have to get. And you put in, you pay like $40 or $20 to get into the challenge. And then as people fail because, they didn't meet their step count or
Right.
whatever, the pot gets bigger.
Oh,
And so
nice.
I paid for my first step bet, and I have not paid for a single one since. So,
Wow.
I'm working up for my extra to be a night in a hotel, because that's what I do for myself. And I
Right.
recommend for so many people, especially if you're a woman, you're doesn't military spouse not required. Um, a night in a hotel is such an amazing self-care practice. So if you don't know what to ask people for the holidays this year, if your family can't afford to give you one night, ask a couple of people, work up to that,
Yeah.
$120, and then spend a night in a hotel by yourself doing literally whatever you want. You want to eat ice cream
Right.
at 10 a.m., do it.
Do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Want to watch TV?
But
Do
to
it.
get to
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. To get to your question though about what you would suggest to someone who doesn't know where to start. So the first thing I would recommend, and if you're listening to this and you have access to TRICARE, or even if you don't, if you have health insurance, I would look to see if you can get a full panel of blood work done. That
Mm,
it's not doesn't sound like a very sexy response to what you're saying,
right.
but when I did that, the story that my blood told me was in line with everything that I was feeling. I was feeling lethargic. I was feeling I had brain fog. I had barely any energy. And looking at my blood work, it made total sense why I was
Mm,
struggling with certain things. I was, as I mentioned, vitamin D deficient. I was vitamin B12 deficient, which, is metabolizes our
yeah.
energy. I was low on iron. So they were like, you need to eat steak. And I was like, yes, I will eat more steak, um, all of these little things. And she was like, you're not eating enough protein. Like, so many of us are not eating enough protein. And it was
Mhm,
really interesting for the first time in my life to be told to eat more. I feel like
yeah.
that's not what we commonly are told. Um, but it has completely changed my energy level. And when you have energy, you can start approaching these other things because they
Right.
don't feel so overwhelming because you're not pouring from an empty cup. So, honestly, that would be the first thing. It is completely covered by TRICARE, whether you have Select, Prime, TRICARE for Life, it does not matter. um, but a full panel blood work. And if you have private insurance, most likely they cover it too. And I highly recommend taking advantage of the healthcare benefits that we have available to us in the military and veteran communities.
Yeah, that's huge because, like you say, as long as you know your baseline, so you don't like, oh man, well, I'm feeling so lethargic, or well, I'm feeling so sleepy all the time. And then if you see these levels, that once you get the levels up, your energy changes, right? It's like, man,
Mhm.
that's why, now you're zipping around, you have all the energy. Like, man, what are you taking? Nah, I got my levels to where they needed to be. That was it. I was
Yeah.
just, lowering a
Yeah.
couple of things. So now I'm good to go. So with that being said, and so we started at 2013. Here we are in 2025. Where do you see it shooting up in the next 5 years? Like what's the vision
Yeah.
as you're leading this charge?
Absolutely. So we want to address areas of wellness that aren't
Mm,
really getting a lot of attention. We call them our wellness unfiltered topics. So talking more
mm,
about substance use in the military spouse community. I think the veteran community does a really good job talking about it, talking about resources. But if you do any sort of Googling for military spouses and resources available to them, there's nothing out there. So
right,
we are going to be stepping into that space and addressing it from multiple different angles. The other thing that we are working on, and it'll launch in 2026, is a way to get more mental health professionals serving this community. There are
nice,
so many military and veteran spouses and veterans themselves who have different barriers um, to becoming a licensed mental health professional.
right,
And we want to reduce some of those barriers so
mm,
that they can serve this community, and reduce some of the wait times that we're experiencing for those who are seeking mental health help, and then expanding that into all areas of wellness. So connecting people really with culturally competent wellness professionals who want to serve this community. So doing what we do well, which is,
right.
like I said, reduce that gap through education, resources, tools, and research.
Wow. So we talk about, we in these different communities, and to better support independent, like what are some like initiatives that people could take, or maybe start I don't know if you have chapters, or like hey, we want to start something in Texas, or we want to start something in Colorado, or over in California, like and like some pop-up shops, I guess to call it. That's the only I'm thinking, 'cause you
Yeah.
from the city, you say you have parents from the Bronx and stuff, so like
Yeah, yeah.
some independent corner stores, right? Just to pop in there and get a snack and stuff.
Bodegas.
Yeah, bodegas. There we
Independent
go. Yeah.
bodegas. Yeah, I heard someone recently say that a bodega can only be owned by a Dominican or a Puerto Rican. So I'm safe there because I'm Puerto
Yeah.
Rican. So,
There we go.
um, um, honestly, so right now we're a fully virtual organization.
Okay.
Dream would be to have a physical headquarters, but my husband plans on serving until they kick him out. So I don't see
Right.
us slowing down where we're moving anytime soon. So, um, sharing what we do with if you're a veteran listening and
Uh,
you're married, what we do supports your spouse. It is a place for them to come to take care of their well-being, so that we can create a culture of wellness within the home. So,
uh,
sharing what we do with others. If you're seeing things in the community that aren't being addressed, tell them. Like I said, we talk about everything. We talk about the hard subjects, we talk about the easy
uh,
subjects. We really try to make sure that we're addressing wellness in the ways that this community needs. um, if you are interested in our mission and you want to be a part of the team, we're currently a team of fully volunteers. So
uh,
as you can imagine, we
yeah,
always have a need, because we're virtual, heavy on the IT needs. So if you have any
uh,
IT experience or know someone who does, but yeah, I would say that, anything that anyone here can do to elevate what we're doing so that we get in front of more people is always so appreciative. And then, if we can serve you in any way,
uh,
we want to know that. But hopefully what we already do can start getting people in the right direction and being healthy, happy, and thriving.
Awesome. And I know some of the things that you said that I jotted down. One of the things you did mention was military spouses are leaders, not just supporters.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at so many military
Uh,
spouses out there, often we are doing things in our life alongside of our service member,
uh,
in ways where we're spearheading initiatives. I mean, military spouses are talking to Congress to get policy changes.
uh,
When we see something in the community that needs to be addressed, we're not just waiting for someone else to fix it. We're going
right.
up to leadership and saying,
Yeah.
hey, this park
Yeah.
needs
Right.
something. Let's do something about it.
Right.
And I love the fact that more employers, especially, are seeing the skills and the value that military spouses bring to the workforce and are not just giving us entry level jobs when we're looking for employment. And
Right.
that to me is huge.
Right. And that's one of the other things you said, like, you have to shift the conversation from surviving to thriving, right? Because is that like we're doing more than just what you see on surface, right? You go on, you speaking to Congress, you speaking to the post commander, for quality of life, right? That's the main thing, right? Because you have
Mhm.
the war fighter, whether it be you have the war fighter out there, so y'all are, everybody is in the contributing, right? What is your piece of the pie? What is your part of the puzzle to make it whole?
Mhm.
So that
Mhm.
surviving to thriving. That's why I really like when you mentioned that.
Yeah. Well, I think that sometimes we're not in a place where we can do more, right?
Uh,
Sometimes military life or even when you're transitioning, you're like, I just can take care of myself and my family, right? That's
right,
all that I have the capacity for, and that's okay. We're not asking everyone to go out of their way to do anything really big, and I don't think that you need to. But there are so many spouses out there who are checking in on a neighbor, right?
right,
That could change someone's life that day. I was having a bad day the other day, and a friend of mine just randomly sent me a text and said, hey, you kind of came across my mind. I wanted to let you know I was thinking of you. Hope you're doing okay. And
right,
it's those moments that can really change a person's life. But at the same time, there are, like I said, many spouses who are doing incredible work, not just in the military community, but even in their civilian communities, to make the world a better place. And it's wonderful to see so many spearheading just wonderful initiatives, to make this country just a wonderful place to live in and a place that is worthy of our service members' service and, fighting for what they believe in and what they took their oath to protect. Um, and I think that that's really important. Let's love the place that we live in.
and you want to know a secret was really extra important in my eyes? You just talked about it. You said, "Look, we're here volunteers. I'm the president
Mm.
of Independent, like, but I didn't ask you. What about you? What's next for you?" The person for Evie, what's next for you? Because we talked about that you're doing other things. So what's next for you? Because I want people to know it's more than just independent, like you as a person, because you're inspiration. If you, I don't know how you look at it, but I'm letting you know you're inspiration because not only that you're a military spouse, you're president of a nonprofit, and you also doing some other things. So what's next for you, Evie? What's your next?
Yeah, honestly, I'm really excited for this next season of military life we're about to enter into. My
Nice,
husband is being given a battalion command,
nice.
and I am
Congrats.
really, yeah, he is thrilled. I know it's going to be a lot of late nights, but I am really, really excited to get back to being with families again in that capacity. I
Mm,
obviously support and influence military families and spouses all day, every day because of
yeah.
independent. But we haven't been at a unit in a while. And I think back so fondly to our experience when my husband first became active duty and the mentorship I received from the battalion commander spouse uh, when I had no clue what being a spouse even meant. And I'm really looking forward to paying that forward. And yeah, just being a place where families feel heard and cared for. Because it's going to be overseas, and that provides some additional challenges there. So we'll be doing it in South Korea as of right now.
Nice. And that's you let me tell you how huge this is because I don't know if you thought about if it hit you yet or when you get over there, you're gonna have some chicken bulgogi and beef bulgogi. Good protein, by the way. Very good
Yes,
protein.
yes.
The thing is when you see the spouses over there, like, you could go to a spouse that's only been a spouse for 3 months. And
Right,
you could say,
exactly.
hey, I was there. I was you years ago. Let me share my story. You see what I'm saying? It gives that encouragement, like, wow,
Mm,
that she was me. I'm gonna be her. It's like it gives that extra energy to keep. When you say when you don't have nothing else, you look up because the universe. I tell people this all the time. The universe will always course correct, right? And this is like you say, we can't pay nothing back, right? Because paying something back is in the past. You said it perfectly. Paying it forward. How can you pay it
mhm,
forward for the next generation that's coming, for the next generation of military spouses that's coming that don't even know where to start, how to start, what they need to do, how they need to thrive and survive and all this. And now you're literally the lighthouse now. They see the lighthouse going and they're gonna be looking up to you. So I just want to say thank you for one being a part of this campaign, the military effect, paying it forward, um, leading independent. Like you see, and guess what? Picking up a tie and going back overseas, right? So it's like you came to the training ground, you fought Mike Tyson and it built it up. Now you're taking the fight straight overseas because that's where it comes to that tight knit, close knit community, right? Because overseas is all you have. It's like I can't tell people who haven't experienced it. It's just a different atmosphere, if that makes sense.
yeah, because when you leave the military community, right, it's literally a foreign nation
Yeah.
of people, and it can be a scary experience, especially I think in Korea. Germany, you're more likely to leave base and run into somebody and people speak English, but Korea, the alphabet isn't even the same, so it can be extremely overwhelming and scary. And like you said, they send lots of new families over there. The first time we lived in South Korea before I found independent, uh, we were young. I was only a spouse for maybe 2 years at that point, and it was terrifying. It was exciting, it was fun, but it was also there, to say that I was not scared or nervous would be a lie. I was. Um, and so I'm really excited about the opportunity to, like you said, be, a lighthouse, a mentor. I love military life. I don't know why I ever told my parents I would never marry a service member. Like, I literally have no clue why I would ever say those words, but I did. And like I said, the joke's on me. This has been what an adventure. Never in my wildest dreams would I have lived in half of these places, met these people, had the experiences that I've had, despite the challenges, despite the hardships. And that's because so many people were there for me. So many people helped me. We don't get through this life by ourselves. And I'm ready to share that with the next generation who are coming up after us, so that they can also look forward. They can also see beyond the challenges, the hardships, the late nights, and see what an amazing opportunity that we have being a part of the military community. And then, talking about transition, leaving the military community, what a blessing we are when we
Yes,
join the civilian world, and can bring those experiences and perspectives that so many people have no clue about. Maybe have never left their neighborhoods, right? Um,
so
what an
true.
asset.
And thank you. And one last thing before we take, how can they get in contact with you? How can they look up the organization? How can they contribute? How can they add value and bring forth the word for the organization?
Yeah, we are on all the, not all the social platforms. We're not on TikTok, but we're on Instagram, Independent Org. We're on Facebook, Independent Org One, because there is an independent org. It's a private person. I don't know why. Email info@in-dependent.org, which is our website. So again, honestly, the easiest way to search for us is just type in independent military spouse. We are the first result on Google pretty much that pops up. Or military spouse wellness. And we're also on LinkedIn and everything like that. So feel free to connect with me. I love connecting with military spouses, veterans, whatever. If you like talking about wellness, if you're drawn to our mission of making wellness accessible and want to again join our team, like I said, we're right now a team of volunteers. Always welcome. But you can you can free.com, right? Free sense is sharing our mission and connecting us with the people who need our resources. That's always so extremely helpful. And yeah, like I said, if you're feeling called to help us, we could always use someone to join the team.
Y'all heard it. Y'all got the information. Now I need y'all to do one great thing. Connect, connect, connect. Like, subscribe, share, and connect again. Right? Because that's the only way it's going to get amplified, right? Because this is part of the
Right.
military effect campaign, right? We're trying to amplify and push it out because I'm sure there's some young spouse, there's some young human that's about to transition into this space and don't even know their resources like independent out there.
Right. Yeah.
And we need to do our part.
I will I will add, if you are a wellness professional as well and you want to tell a story or, help talk about any version of wellness, like I said, we approach it very holistically: mental health, nutrition, financial wellness, you name it, we talk about it, social wellness, marriage. We would love to tell your story and share, your tips and tricks as well. Um, yeah.
That's awesome. Remember, everybody, you do not have to drown in the sea of transition. Grab that VET S.O.S. Lifeline. We are here to help. And thank you for coming, sitting on the stoop, getting the scoop of this amazing program, amazing military effect campaign, and the amazing Evie and the Kings, the plural, right? The Kings are signing off for today. Until next time, everybody, take care. Peace.